Good evening. Hi, Gail. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you, Narissa?
I am fine, Nasira.
Good. Nice to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you too. I'm happy that we could connect today and speak a little bit about what you're up to.
I'm up to no good, but yes, we can talk about it. Yes.
So, a small introduction about Gail. Gail Kraft has transformed her life over and over again, from a gang kid in Boston to an empowerment master. She takes clients through a process that elevates their life in all aspects. She's an author, a thought leader, a keynote speaker. So, Gail,
Hi.
that's quite an introduction. Do you want to explain that?
um, so I've transformed my life, and we'll talk a little bit about the chapter that I have with, women with healing gifts. And mine is about facing that I actually had abandonment issues. And I, addressed each issue separately in my life as they came up. And through the process of healing, I would elevate, I would get wiser, smarter, more in tune, if you will. And I learned that part of the healing process, both physically, mentally, emotionally, is about letting go of your history. And
Mm,
yes, it happened, but it's there. Something that happened 10 years ago, leave it 10 years ago. Why are you bringing it up now? And when I work with my clients on healing themselves, we work with what just came up. I'm not going to say, well, that happened because when you were 6 years old, your, teacher, blah, blah, blah. It's what's going on in this moment so that you learn to deal with the moment in the moment, right? And not push it down, not try to get past it and beyond it, because that's ignoring your body. That's
yeah.
ignoring, right? That's almost like if you were a child looking at the child in you crying out for attention and you go, yeah, let's just get past this problem. You want to say to the child, oh, so you have a problem, well, let's sit down and talk about it,
Yes.
right? Right. But talk about it in the now, not from a trigger that happened so long ago. But I
Yeah.
learned that through addressing the baggage that held me down. And so my chapter is being abandoned again and again and again.
Yeah. So, abandoned. Um, what was that act of abandonment that you're talking about?
Well, there were many. That's why it's again and again and again. I'll tell you, when I was in my early 20s, I was in a relationship, and this gentleman said, well, my job is not to heal your abandonment issues. And
Mhm.
I looked at him and said, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have abandonment issues, right? And he said, well, your mom died when you were 3. Of course you have abandonment issues, right? And I thought, well, F you. I was a street kid. Remember, it took me a while to get rid
Yeah.
of,
Badass.
right? So of course I put up the wall that that's not me. I'm strong. I'm good. I'm capable, right? And I am, and I was. But I was also angry. I was also defensive, and I also had these huge walls I was not letting people in. So the first, not the first one that I faced, but the first act of abandonment actually happened in vitro.
Mhm.
One of my techniques that I work with my clients on is asking your body when you sleep for the answers. So, like I said, I had these walls and I was bringing them down, and I had like one brick, if you can imagine, left. And I just couldn't figure out, what is this? What is this? I can't get past it if I don't know what it is. I didn't know it was abandonment. I didn't know anything about what it was. So um, I finally said one night, okay, subconscious mind, tonight you're not going to go dream. You're not going to go play. You have a job to do. And your job is to find out what this brick is, because I'm ready to face it. but I don't know what it is. So I went to sleep, and the next morning I woke up and it was like a flash. Like, oh, well, that's interesting.
Mhm.
So I have, my sisters are all like 10 to 20 years older than me, right? So I was visiting one of my sisters and we're having coffee, and I said, so mom got pregnant with me, and she tried to abort me but failed. And she's like, how the hell did you know that? And I
Oh,
said, my body knows, your body knows.
yeah,
Right. And I
right.
said, okay, so now I need to forgive her. Right. So about, I would say, oh, just a few weeks after that, I was out in the deserts in California in an Indian tent. It's a sweat tent
Hmm.
where the chief, it has three prayers that he does, and so you go in three times. You have three cycles that you go through. Well, the very first cycle, I'm sweating, I can hardly breathe, and I brought my mother down, and this is what I said: given the times, given the situation you were in, given the relationship you were in, if I were in your shoes, I would have done the same thing. So I have to forgive you and thank you for failing.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Right. And so
I
this is
have
what the
gooseflesh right now.
yes. And that's what forgiveness is. It's understanding where they're coming from, right? And understanding what their history is and why they might have made those choices that maybe you don't want them to, but why that happened. Yeah, that was huge for me. And that's what forgiveness is. Now you just understand. It's just understanding where the other person might become. Their view of the world might be warped, but understanding that warpedness and releasing that energetic tie that you have
Yeah.
releases you. Forgiveness is about releasing you. We can't ascend. We can't become the best version of ourselves if we're filled with fear, anger, resentment, shame, guilt. If we're filled with that, we are not going to ascend. It's like, let's put a weight on. Let's put a 50-pound weight on my back and try to swim. I'm going to swim with a 50-pound weight on my back. It's not going to happen.
You're
Right?
gonna sink,
Amazing. You
yeah.
take that, right? Take the weight off and you float right to the top. Right. So that was just one of the many. So if you want to know more, get the book.
I'd love to.
Right.
You have this of so this is what they say that somebody is born in a family and they break that family karma,
Yes,
but that one
I've broken it.
person,
Mhm.
yeah, you wear that one.
Yeah. So that's called a Gestalt theory. And imagine that events in your life and in your family's life are like little pearls on a necklace, and the pearls are all wiggled, right? In Gestalt, you take that issue and you straighten out the pearls.
Right.
That's what straightening and fixing your family history. That's what that does. Yeah.
And in a sense, you actually release everybody else who have been tied down and attached to that shame or feeling or guilt.
Right. 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 By releasing it. I mean, when we elevate ourselves, we elevate the world in so many ways. It's like the butterfly effect. You have no idea. I have no idea who I impact with my podcast, with my books, with my training, but I get feedback from I've been following you for years, Gail. I have to tell you, you've changed my life. Oh, really? Well, that's cool. Right? That's what I'm here for. And my clients, I love when they come back, because we'll work together, then they leave, and then they come back and we'll work together and then they leave. They're always completely different each time. Even at
Mhm.
the end of a session, their face, their attitude, they change physically because of
Mhm.
the weight that they leave. I had one client recently who went through my journey to enlightenment training, and called me, and she said, what has happened? This changed, and this changed, right, in her life. And I mean physical healings, right? And I went, well, I don't promise that you will heal, but I do promise that if you practice, if you go through the practices, you elevate yourself. And in the elevation, you align. And when you align, your body has to heal. It has no choice but to heal because you're in alignment.
That's so true.
Yes. So cool. So cool.
Gail, how did you know that you had this in you? I mean, what was like your journey when, upon discovering this? How did you, figure
Well,
this out that this is what you were meant to?
I always knew. I knew as a child that I was not from this planet. I knew as a teenager that I had the ability to astral project and travel because I did, and I got
Okay.
confirmation. I knew as a young adult that I had healing powers because I could meditate and heal people in my mind, and then I would get feedback about healings that happened. But at that age, I would say mid-20s, something happened that made me very nervous. And so I stopped meditating. I stopped and then just went on with life. Right.
Hmm.
Then years later, I entered into a company that was not in alignment with my core values, wasn't in alignment with me. And I didn't have the nerve to leave because I was getting paid good money. I was living 3,000 miles away from family. I had bills to pay. All of those fear-driven choices were, of course, the wrong choices. And I knew, I mean, day to day, I hated going into work. And so the universe took care of it and fired me.
I'm happy
In
you
that,
did.
in that act, thank you, universe. I had a CTJ, which is come to Jesus conversation with me. And it's like, I did not like who I had become. I didn't like me at all. And I needed to make a change. And one of my changes was I was not going back to corporate. It just didn't fit with me. Um, and so I started consulting as a business process consultant, got certified, and decided to take a course as in coaching because the people piece of that training was missing. And I knew that people first, if you don't have people on board, it doesn't matter how good your process is, it's not going to work. So
Yeah.
I thought I needed to understand human interaction from a consulting perspective, not as a leader, which is different, which I was already a leader and successful at that. So, and I started taking this training and went, oh, this is what I'm here for. It's a pulling, it's a calling, it's a feeling that I can't explain unless you've had it. I had no choice but to stop everything and follow that path. I had no choice. And so I've been studying and training ever since, and it's been over a decade. And each step leads to another discovery, to another discovery, to another discovery. And finally, 2020, of course, was a great year for self-discovery. And
Yes.
I have a friend who wrote a book, and the book is The Spiritualist Out of the Closet, right? And it's like I was a secret hippie when I was in corporate, right? Because I would be in my business suit and all professional, and then go home, put on my shredded jeans, and right. So I was a closet spiritualist, if you will. When I met this spiritualist, he's like, oh my God, Gail, they're like yelling at me about you. I'm like, I know. And we started having soul to soul conversations, and it's been ever since. Um, Massive change for me, massive change for my clients, massive change when I give my keynote. Um, People just when they apply even a piece of what I talk about, their life changes dramatically. How awesome is that?
Wow. That is so amazing.
Yeah, I love it.
So I'm curious to know, what do you think takes over, like when you're at it in that moment? What is it that takes over in you that you
Well,
just,
when you lose yourself,
yeah,
and that's what happens. And my keynote is called Crafting the Flow Formula. It's being in flow. It's not anything magical or mystical. Anyone who knows an artist gets into flow. If you know someone who is good at sports, they get into flow, right? I mean, one of the Bobby Orr from the Boston Bruins, his big thing, his claim to fame, the first time they were in the playoffs, his team was in flow. They came out as one. Never happened before,
yeah,
right? Right. So flow is you're not an individual anymore. Right. And for me, we were talking earlier, when I have a coaching call, I record them because I will say something and my client will say, "Whoa, what was that?" And I'll be like, listen to the recording because I don't know, because I get into flow, right? I get into flow and I don't know what I'm going to say when I do my podcasts. Sometimes my guests who are there to share their knowledge have a breakthrough because we get into flow. We get into flow, right?
yeah,
Right. And that's just, it's like having gears that finally get into sync.
right.
It feels smooth. It just feels so right. And you do lose sense of time and space because you get lost into the oneness, and there is no time and space in the oneness.
Yeah, it sounds like such a synchronized dance, if you could say.
So
It's
yes, I
like
used to
in that
I used to
flow.
compete at dancing. I danced. Yep. Yep. One of the analogies I use in my book, is the space between the steps, right? Dance is not the step that you take. Dance is the space between the steps. Like, how are you flowing, right? It's not dun, dun, dun. It's how are you moving with the music, right? It's like
Yeah,
what's happening between. It's like music is the space between the notes, right? Art is the space between the form, right? It's all about the space. And that's what the oneness is. It's the space where creativity and magic happens. It's beautiful.
it is indeed. So, what does this journey look like for you now? What's ahead of you?
I have no idea. Um, I really, I take each day as it comes. I take each moment as it comes. Right now, I'm writing the book to a training, my training Journey to Enlightenment. It's a training and it is a process that I will bring a client through if
Mhm,
that's what they came to me for. If you came to me for enlightenment, sit down, put your seatbelt on, and let's go. Right. So it's a training, it's a process, and now it's a book. I've got my first draft done. I'm going through it again and just like making each chapter a little bit more robust. And the book is being written like my training. So what does that mean? It means here are the facts. Here are some exercises you can do if you want to anchor in some of those facts. Oh,
mhm,
and here's a meditation.
mhm,
Right? So you get to read it, you get to physically do it, and you get to meditate on it each chapter.
mhm.
Um, and that's the piece that I'm on. I want to go through the chapters one more time. And I've got meditations for each chapter. I just want to be sure that the meditations really are aligning with what I say before I record them and get them out there. So
Mhm.
it's a little bit different than any other book that I have out right now.
So, what is it that one can expect if they were to come to you and if you were to teach them how to get into this flow? What can one expect?
Well, it depends on what you bring to the training or to the sessions. If you are ready and open for change, if you're truly ready and open for change, you will look at life completely different, and you will exponentially grow. I'll give you 3 examples.
Sure.
Okay. One example where my training didn't work because the client was not ready. She renegotiated everything all the time. I want you to do this and do this week. And I would get, well, could I do this instead? And could I do that? So she wasn't ready. She wasn't ready. Right. And so that was frustrating for both of us. So now I make sure I have a pre-session now. That's what I'm offering, a pre-session to be sure you're ready.
Yeah.
And then I have a client who I've been working with for years. And when he first came, he was, not really successful financially. He came because he was brokenhearted over, breakup that he had. He had physical issues, just crazy. He is so enlightened now that we will talk and he'll be like, holy crap, Gail, this just happened. I'm like, I'll give you an example. I saw him a few months ago. And he's been wanting to manifest 3 or 4 different things. He's like, I'm getting phone calls for this. I'm getting phone calls for that. I'm getting phone call. Like, it's coming to him. And I said, well, the universe has had this backlog. And they said, oh, by the way, you've been asking for this stuff. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Now it's up to you to choose what you really want to do with that. Right. And he's flying high right now. It's just like crazy. Right. And then I had another woman who went through Journey to Enlightenment. I had quite a few people go through that already. And she just sent me a text and she said, what the F did you do with my head? And I want a couple of more of those meditations.
Awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
So, everybody has a different experience. It depends on what you are looking for. It's like essential oils, right? Essential oils, they say this one's good for that, this one's good for this. And yet you can take lavender, which I call is like the Swiss Army knife of essential oils, and say, oh, I'm going to rub some on my hands and breathe it because I have a backache. And because of your intention, it's going to heal your back. So what do people, what will they get? It's whatever their intention is when they come to me is what they're going to get. Because I'm just a mirror.
And they're also vibrating at that
right
frequency.
Right. So you can't get elevated if you are still carrying the old baggage. You just can't get there from here. So some of the work we will do will be clearing some of that stuff. Will it be pranic healing? I've been trained in pranic healing. I won't do pranic healing because I'm not certified in it, but I can talk to you about it, talk to you about, where is this showing up in your body and what does this mean? I worked with a woman just the other day, right? She actually had a group of us, and I've been having almost like kidney area pain. I'm like, well, that's like shame and guilt. I'm like, what the heck? Right. And so she's like, oh, I'm picking up resentment. And I'm like, that's what it is. Okay, I need to figure out. She goes, and you're bringing it in on yourself. I'm like, yes. Okay. Right. Right.
Yeah.
So once she identified, it was like, oh, it was cleared like that.
It's like pain and trauma. They hold it in places in their body, and and when they release that, it just goes away.
Right.
They're relieved of that.
And it's energetic. So, and I call them energetic statements, right? It imprints on you.
Yes.
Right. And so it's your mind remembers that this trauma hurts here. right? So I'm going to keep hurting right here because this trauma hurts here. And so it's the mind thing to release, as well as the physical thing to release the trauma, right? And to heal the pain of it. So yeah, there's healing to do, but I don't focus a lot on the only if it's holding you back. I'll give you the tools so you can heal yourself.
Mm-hmm. So you
Right.
work with the chakras and somatic energy as well.
Oh,
Somatic
yeah.
therapies.
And I have before I even knew what chakras were. So I gave a cool training one time. It was so funny. I think this was on detoxing your mind, detoxing your body. And so I was talking about, well, how do you know? I said, so for me, if my soft spot is my throat chakra. So if I know that I'm holding something back, I can feel it in my throat chakra. And someone in the audience said, what's a chakra? So I looked at my co-presenter. I said, do we need to do a chakra class? And she said, I think so. So I have this chakra training that is 3 days, an hour and a half on each chakra. And it's, what is it? How does it spin? What are the mudras? What is the yoga? What is the oils? What are the crystals? What are the mantras, right? In order, everybody heals differently.
That's true.
Right. So here are a dozen different ways that, first of all, when it's out of alignment, here's how you know. And the foods that you eat, that's the pranic part. The pranic is like, when do you eat yellow foods? When do you eat orange foods? Right? When do you eat red foods? Right? And I don't mean meat, I mean beets.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I get you completely because food is energy also. And you know what you consume, you are what you consume. And each color is like, you know, for your Muladhara chakra, you need a certain color. For your sacral chakra, for your solar plexus. Yes, I completely get that.
Right.
And
And they talk to each other. So one of the Journey to Enlightenment focuses a lot on the Kabbalah, which is Jewish mysticism, which is the chakras as well. So the Kabbalah are your energy spheres. And your root chakra communicates and is connected to your crown chakra.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you hear about Kundalini meditation, that's taking your crown chakra, shooting it down to your root chakra through your sexual chakra and up back through.
That's true. It's like a serpent.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it has to come down and it sparks that energy and you let the energy go up. It's just amazing. So I'll tell you a story that I tell in some of the presentations I do when I talk about chakras, and especially about the sacral chakra, which is the sexual chakra, right? That is where the seed of creation is there. And here's an example. I told you I was successful in business. I was, on the board of directors of a big insurance company. And in the process of climbing the ladder, it was hot. It was sexy. It was so juicy. It was ridiculous. And my husband, when I got home, got the benefits.
Lucky him.
He was a lucky man. And I'll tell you, I could see why people would have affairs in the office, because there was a moment where my boss and I were like really creating something and it was so hot. And I looked at him and I am not attracted to this man at all. And I thought, I can see why. I mean, like if the opportunity was there, I would like throw him on the table right now. And I have no physical attraction to this man.
Yeah.
Right. So if you have a slight physical attraction, you're in danger of that happening. Right. And this is why successful people, successful men have affairs, because they've got those juices going. Right. And so you need a little discernment, right?
There's
you still
also
need
this
to expel. You still need to to allow that to happen, but with discernment, right?
They also say like the sacral chakra is also connected to your throat chakra in a way. And your throat chakra, okay, actually helps you to, be a great orator, uh, be a leader. So you
You
would,
speak into existence.
yeah,
That is part of creation, is speaking into existence. So that's how they're connected,
yeah.
right? Because if you don't, you it doesn't manifest. So people
And
who have a dream and keep the dream a secret, the dream doesn't come true,
mm,
right? Because they're afraid to speak it into existence because people will think I'm crazy. Well,
your
then
throat
you have a
chakra,
fear about it, right?
your throat chakra and your sacral chakra, they both are connected and they're also linked very strongly to creativity and leadership. So
Yep.
when that is flowing, when the energy there is actually flowing, if how it should flow, then you would definitely be a lot more creative, and you would also be a great orator. And
Yep.
then that's also, in a way, it kind of makes them powerful also,
Right.
and that whole power play kind of thing comes in. So I can understand why it could be that hot.
Well, and all the power that ever was and ever will be. So my book is all about this stuff,
Awesome.
right? That's what Journey to Enlightenment is all about. It's going through all of your energy spheres because they're all interconnected, right? They all have to be in balance and in alignment,
Yeah.
right? Sure, you can manifest with some of them being out of alignment, but what you manifest, you can lose quickly, right? Or it manifests and it's kind of it's like a house with a bad cellar, right? It's like the Leaning Tower pizza, right?
Mm.
Right.
Okay.
That wasn't built with the intention of leaning, right? Right. It may stand up, but it's going to be a little askew.
Yeah. Okay. I got you.
Right. So anyway, so part of my gift is if anyone wants to know what it's like to work with me, I have a free session, a complimentary session, and I will bring you through a sample 30 minutes of what it's like to train with me, and then I will make you an offer at the end. If you mention that you heard about me through this podcast, I will give you a discount on the offer of my training.
Okay. I'm sure a lot of
Okay.
people are going to be very excited hearing that.
Oh, this will be fun. This will be fun. Right. It's just, I love what I do. I have no choice but to do what I do. And I'm doing very important work for this time.
Do you have a message that you would like to give out?
Oh, yes. Life is, and it's not the message that I said. Life is in constant change. If there's one constant, that's what it is change. You don't have to hang on to the old version of you. You can be whoever, whatever you want. It just takes intention to get there.
Thank you for such a beautiful message, Gail.
Oh, Narissa, thank you for having me today. This was so much
I
fun.
It's been such a pleasure having you. Thank you so much. I would request everybody to pick up the book Women with Healing Gifts and read the chapters and read Gail's chapter
Yeah,
and learn a little bit more about her courses and the workshops and her sessions. I'm sure a lot of people are going to get excited.
it's going to be fun. This book is amazing. Thank you so
You
much,
are amazing.
everybody.
Well, okay. Thanks so much, Gail. It was a pleasure having you. I really
Thank,
appreciate you taking the time to be here today.
thank you so much. And I look forward to hearing people's comments.
Yeah. All right. So that's Nasira, the energy architect, signing off. Bye, everybody.